friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you a beautiful fall card using a new bundle in the holiday catalog. It's the Tidings All Around bundle that comes bundled with the All Around wreath dies. Now this has, of course, a wreath is all occasion, all year round. However, this stamp set Tidings All Around has Christmas sentiments in. But you'll notice near the end of the catalog, there's also the seasonal wreaths stamp set that has another beautiful wreath in it that can cut out with these great wreaths dies. So we're going to be using the beautiful stamp here in the Tidings All Around. We're also going to be changing this up to be a Thanksgiving card, a fall card. We're going to be using some of the sentiments in the Country Home, one of my favorite sets, beautiful flowers and fall foliage that can go into a milk can, into a pitcher there. I love this stamp set. So we're going to be using the Country Home. And of course, we're going to be using Old Faithful. He's retired, but will always be right with me everywhere. I love the hardwood, and we're going to be using that on the background of the front of the card. So what we're going to do for the palette is use beautiful fall colors, the Cajun Craze, and this is just a half sheet of our cardstock, and it's 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and we're going to score it at 5 1/2. And don't worry about writing down the measurements and the products I use, because I will post them on the blog post for this card. Now we'll put inside of this card base a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Very Vanilla. And on the outside, we're going to be using that same size 4 by 5 1/4 of crumb cake. And what I did with this crumb cake is I just stamped it with the hardwood. I just opened up my hardwood stamp, I inked it up, laid the paper down on it, and then I just put a scratch paper over it, rubbed it, and then I got a beautiful impression on my crumb cake. And so that is actually going to be going on to the front of our card. Why not just put it on right now? Well, the one thing I would have to do is grab my snail, which I took everything off of my desk today because I'm preparing for my Stamp-A-Stack. So I was using the whole surface area. So I had put this on the floor. So here we go. Let's go ahead and put our hardwood background panel on the front of the Cajun Craze. Hopefully I'm getting that on there. Good. Okay. There we go. So that's the beginning there. So now we're going to take a little look about what we're doing here with this wreath. Now I saw a beautiful card by a Japanese demonstrator, Satomi Wellard, and she did some sponging on her image, and I loved that two-tone there. I've done this many, many times on different fall leaves, but I hadn't thought about it. And so when I saw her card, I thought, ah, awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wreath from the Tidings All Around stamp set. Now you're going to notice on this stamp set there's like a little piece of photopolymer that kind of makes a little arrow, and you'll notice on the die there's also an arrow. So whenever you are going to end up stamping this, you're going to remember where that arrow goes, and then it's going to easily help you put your die in place. So we are going to do that live. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to take our crushed curry. I like to start with your lighter color, and then I'll bring it up here, and I'm just going to ink up the surface with crushed curry. And then I'm going to take a sponge dauber, and I labeled it with my Cajun Craze, and then I'm going to open up my Cajun Craze, and I'm just going to get some ink on it, and then I'm just going to put it in some various places. And you won't worry about getting crushed curry on it because the color is darker. So there we're going to get some color added, maybe a little there. Looks like I've got it dispersed pretty well. So then we're going to take our piece of Very Vanilla, and like I said, you're going to remember that, and if you have to, just so that you do remember, you can put top there, okay? Because sometimes you stamp it and then you're like, oh, and you take it over to your Big Shot and then you don't remember where the arrow was. So that is where my arrow is, and I'm just going to place down my stamp, give some firm pressure, let the ink get to know that paper there, and you're going to get a big wow whenever we take this off. So then Look how pretty. You've added dimension to the image by just adding in some color. Now you could do this with any color. You know, I've done fall cards with crushed curry and rich raspberry and old olive. So the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how I'm going to place this die. Now I knew the arrow was up here. So if I went to go put this down, I would be playing with this everywhere. But because I know that the top was up there, I can put it into place and know that that is where it's supposed to be. Okay, you can see that that's in place there. Okay, so what I'm going to do so that I keep it in place is I'm going to take a piece of my purple tape here, and I know that it'll stay in place. Now I'm going to take this down and I'm going to run it through my Big Shot. I would do it up on my table, except I usually knock over everything whenever I'm doing it. So you just run it through your Big Shot. And we're going to bring it back up here. Ah, there we go. Now you'll see that it cut out pretty much perfectly. Well, I'll admit it's not perfect. I think I moved it whenever I bent down to do that. But you will, like if I would have pushed it down a little bit, it's not perfect, but it's in the right direction. So what we're going to do here is take a look at the card here. Now I wanted to put this on here, but I didn't want the wood showing through, the wood grain. So what I did is I took the largest die that's in the layering dies, layering circle dies, and then I just put some snail around the edges, the back edges of my crushed curry dotted with Cajun craze wreath, and then I just laid it over there. Now I have a nice palette there of adding some curry into there. And then I said, wow, I want to put something in the middle here, but I wanted to pop it up. So guess what? Once you cut this out, this piece here is going to be the perfect size to die cut our I'm so grateful for someone like you. So I'm going to ink this up. I'm going to put it into the middle of that piece that fell out. And then you'll see that I can take the it's about I think the next to the largest. This die is going to go from our stitched shapes dies, and you can pop that around there, and it's going to die cut that beautiful circle with the stitching on it. Let me put this die away so it doesn't get lost. I know this stamp room is a flurry of activity. So it's going to be going here, and we're going to be popping it up, but I still wanted a little more pizzazz to the card. So I took a Cajun Craze piece of cardstock, and I used this die that has the leaves on it, and I die cut it, and then I just played around with it. Once again, I have my, here we go. I have my, all my supplies on the floor. Silly me. So I just kind of cut it. So I had some pieces that I could put around. Doesn't really matter where you cut them. If you cut them like on that edge, you might want to make it look like the leaf is actually supposed to be cut that way. So maybe, depending on where it's going to hang out of your card, around the wreath. Okay, so now we're just going to pop these around the outside of here. So you can just play around and say, I want a little bit. I think I'll just put a little bit more here. There we go. And then I just put, and then I bent this a little bit. And you can put as much of that Cajun Craze around that you want. I might just pull that right off there. So you just kind of play with it wherever you'd like it to be. Snip it off. Rip it off, snip it off. There you go. And let me see here. Kind of roll it around. you know how it is whenever you're trying to get it just the way you want it, it doesn't want to cooperate. Okay, so let me put a little more adhesive on the back of the circle. Kind of have to play around with it to get it exactly the way you want it on there. But the main point of it is to get some additional color into the front of the wreath. And so you can see I just have a little bit around each side. I might actually snip a little more of this off here. I think it was a little too much that I didn't want. Okay, and then we're just going to take some dimensionals and put on the back of the wreath to pop it up. So there we go. And then put some dimensionals on the back of your wreath. There we go. Okie doke. Let's put that aside. Get your little dimensionals off. The little release backing off of that. And then we're just going to pop that right into the middle of our wreath. So we've got a nice mix of colors there. And then we're just going to take and put some dimensionals on the back here of the wreath. I love that you could make this any color you want. If you wanted to make this in greens, you could have used like garden green and pear pizzazz, or shaded spruce mixes really well with Call Me Clover. So you could have like done 2 different shades of green, but I was really going for a fall card because of our, you know, the holiday, Thanksgiving coming up, and doing that. Okay, so we're gonna put that right there in the middle of our hardwood frame. Our panel there. Okay, well, let's put that die away there. And what's the next thing we're gonna do? Oh, we're gonna use this beautiful braided linen trim. If you know me, and you've seen a lot of cards that I've made, I love my linen thread. However, I wanted something a little more substantial and something a little different than my same way of doing things. So I got out the linen trim, braided linen trim. I had bought like 4 packets of this, and then I forgot where it was, and I found it as I was looking for other things, thankfully. And then that just gives a nice bow. Let's get this a little bit more even. There we go. And then I'm just going to put a glue dot on the back of the middle of the bow, and then I can just put it onto the side of the wreath, and then just trim it ever so slightly, just so that they're both the same. I kind of like that. There we go. Normally I won't use my snips, but this is a nice easy snip with this material. But really your snips are for paper. They're not for ribbon. So do as I say, not as I did. So at the inside of my card, I just finished it off with the beautiful wheat spray there that's in the Tidings All Around. Ta-da! And I did that there. And then I just put "You Are the Happy to My Day." And then I brought those 2 colors that are on the outside of the card to the inside of the card. Then just put a little bit of snail or whatever adhesive you're using. Just put it in the corners. You don't want to put it all over the back of your card because it can impede writing. Let's get that ink out of the way. And then we just put that in the inside of our card and have a nice equal border around all 4 sides. And that finishes off the card. So what a beautiful set to use here for the fall. You can use these beautiful dies that coordinate with the, not only the Tidings All Around that we used here, but also this beautiful wreath here that's in the seasonal wreaths. So pretty simple card, a couple little layers, but very easy to do. All you have to do is cover the front of your wreath stamp here. Remember, we just covered that in crushed curry all over. And then we just simply took a sponge dauber and we inked it up with some Cajun craze, and then we just went off over different places on the stamp, and it gave that nice variegated color on the wreath. So if you have any questions, you can always go to my blog, cindyleebdesigns.com. I'll have the measurements and the product lists and everything there. And you won't find step-by-step instructions there, but you will see the video so that you can watch the video, and then when you want to go and see what I used on the card, you can take a look at it there on my blog. So I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. If you have any questions, you can always email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com. You can call me or text me at 724-323-2296. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And make sure to subscribe to my blog and my YouTube channel. I like to post on Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a video on Wednesday. And anytime we have some exciting news to tell you from Stampin' Up, I'll have it on my blog site. So thanks for buzzing by, friends.